Okay, so good afternoon, one and all. So this session is taking care of colleague and co-coordinator of this program, Mr. Bhagi Prasad. So please carry on, Mr. Bhagi Prasad.
Thank you, sir. So, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, good evening to all. On behalf of the program team and EC Department of SRK Engineering College, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to day 3 of AICT sponsored 1 week online training program on innovative teaching and learning methods for inspiring students. It's a great pleasure and honor to welcome today's resource person, Dr. A. Srinath sir. I also feel honored to invite Sri S.V. Rangaraj Garu, Secretary and Correspondent of SRK Engineering College and management members of SRK Engineering College Association, Dr. M. Jagapati Raju Garu, Principal of SRK Engineering College, Dr. B.V. S.S.N. Raju Garu, HOD of EC Department, Dr. P.V. Ramaraj Garu, Professor in ECE and Chief Coordinator for this program, heads of various departments, deans, and all the participants. I welcome you all. We shall soon begin our session. The topic of this session is on innovative methods and strategies to improve student engagement, motivation, and attainment. And today's eminent speaker of this session is Dr. A. Srinath sir. Before we get started, once again, I would like to go over a few guidelines to the participants. E-certificates will be provided to those participants only who attend all the program sessions with more than 80% attendance and provide the feedback daily. And please mute your mic and disable your video while lecture is going on. And use hand raise feature and unmute your mic only when your name is called while queries are answering. If you have any questions, please post them in the chat box. Now I invite Mr. P. James Vijay to introduce the resource person of this session, Dr. A. Srinath sir.
Good afternoon, one and all. Myself, James Vijay, Assistant Professor, Department of ECE, SRK Engineering College. It's a privilege and honor for me to introduce an eminent speaker, Dr. A. Srinath Garu, Professor and Head, Department of Mechanical Engineering, KL deemed to be University, Vijayawada. He was a former UGC Research Awardee during the years 2014 to 17. He has published more than 50 articles in SCI and Scopus journals. He has also published 12 patents, out of which 4 were granted by IPR, the Government of India. He has handled 2.75 crores worth projects from AICTE, UGC, and DST. Dr. A. Srinath Garu has worked as the principal, Academic Staff College, KL deemed to be University from 2013 to 16, and developed various innovative pedagogies like lab taken to class, capstone project based learning, etc. Sir, it's a privilege and deep honor to have you with us to acquire knowledge on innovative methods and strategies to improve student engagement, motivation, and attainment. In this context, on behalf of the delegates, organizing team, and participants, with due respect, I would like to invite Dr. A. Srinath Garu to start the session. Thank you, sir.
Uh, Thank you, Mr. James, and thank you, SRKR College of Engineering College, Bhimvaram, the management, principal, head of the department of EC, and all the faculty members for providing me this opportunity. So, uh, Is the screen visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Clear.
Okay. So we'll start with the introduction given with the latest teaching pedagogies, which are designed, developed, indigenized, as well as implemented in KL deemed to be university during my regime from 2013 to 2016 as the principal for academic staff college, and later on in the Department of Mechanical Engineering during my regime since 2016 as head of the department. They were quite successful because of the support, because of the dedication, and because of the wholehearted and welcome initiative taken by the faculty members, students, and all parents especially. But these type of teaching pedagogies are what we say specifically designed in case for the students to have active involvement, to have active participation, to make them engaged in the in-class activities, and also to see that they have a focused approach towards the learning required for each course during the off-class sessions as well. But when it comes to this COVID-19 situation, which is right now prevailing all through the world, because of this, everything has changed in the world, and education is the one which has changed the most. Everyone, right from government to the lowest level officer or lowest level person in the society, everyone is talking about the front end COVID warriors, that is doctors, nurses, and then policemen and various other such people. But unfortunately, no one is giving the due privilege, no one is giving the due recognition to the teaching community who have ensured through their dedicatedness through their various types of initiatives that education during this pandemic was not at all in a halt, especially in universities like ours, where we could conduct the examinations on time as per our academic calendar. Though the examinations were not traditional examinations, we shifted to online mode. We declared the results on time as per the academic calendar. We commenced the new academic year also on time as per the academic calendar for 2020-21 academic year. All this is possible only when the three stakeholders accept, realize, and live on as per the requirements of this online mode of teaching, delivery, and evaluation. And these three stakeholders are the primary stakeholder, who is the parent, because of whom we are able to get our bread and butter. The second stakeholder is the most important one, who plays an active role and who is the one who is in the receptive mode, that is the student. And the third one, that is the faculty member, who is at the delivery mode. So these three stakeholders play a very, very important role in ensuring that any activity, not only this online mode of teaching and learning, but any activity for that matter which we take up for ensuring enhanced learning outcomes from the students and ensuring that the students attain all the required learning levels as per our expectations are attained by them, these three stakeholders have to cohesively work and should complement each other. Then every initiative and every endeavor will be a successful one. With this brief overview, let us go to our presentation. So the total learning which is going to happen in this innovative teaching learning methods which we are seeing is experiential learning. And what is this experiential learning? Experiential learning is where I would like to ask a few of you, have you ever heard about a technique or a concept called as earn while you learn? Earn while you learn. Have you ever, any one of you, have you ever heard about this concept of earn while you learn? Or there is one more new concept which has emerged in 2017-18 academic year by AICTE, that is what is called as the internship based learning. Both are almost one and same, where the student who is the learner. So let us replace the word student with learner hereafter, and wherever we talk about students, we call them as learners. So learners are the ones who need to experience, who need to gain experience on real time, real world situations while they learn the concepts, while they learn the fundamentals, while they learn the applications, while they analyze critical problems in our courses. So students in every stage of learning should gain experience. Why? Because there is a famous saying by a psychiatrist, world famous psychiatrist called as Ben Franklin, who stated that if you tell me, I will forget. If you teach me, I may have the chances to remember. But if you involve me, then I will definitely learn. So involving the students into learning activity in an active manner and giving the lion's share of learning to the student than taking the lion's share of learning by the faculty member, which is otherwise a very common thing in a classroom based teaching, where a faculty member will be delivering a lecture for around 50 to 60 minutes, and hardly there will be only 5 or 6 minutes left for the student to pose the doubts, and those doubts also again are further clarified by the faculty member only. But this all process which we are tuned to since our inception of this country, that is India, in 75 years ago, that day to till date, there is not much change in the learning mechanism, where students' involvement in class and outside class learning is bare minimum. And that is where the total change has to be brought into. This is a very, very important activity, or a very important slide which you all have to remember. I did not prepare this, neither my university prepared this, nor any government of India organization prepared this, but it was prepared by UNESCO, that is United Nations Educational Related Organization, and it was developed in National Training Laboratories at Bethel in Maine, and it was developed somewhere in 2004-2005, and it was implemented in Washington Accord. And you all know, being NBA accredited and then ABET accredited by some institutions, we all should understand these concepts. This learning pyramid, which is reflected in this slide, developed by National Training Laboratories, Bethel, Maine, states that every lecture can be made to be understood, remembered, applied, and then evaluated and created into the learning of a student by means of complementing or blending that lecture with some various innovative teaching learning methods, or we call them as pedagogies. So lecture, which is shown in the purple color, contributes only to approximately 5% or even lower than that of the attainment of learning from a student. The expected attainment of learning from a student, if it is 100%, then the lecture delivered by the faculty member will be contributing something equal to or less than 5% of the learning. So what else you need to do? You need to make your lecture, along with your lecture, you should complement it with some reading material, which is supplied to the student, provided to the student well before your lecture session. For example, your lecture session is scheduled at 4 o'clock today. At least 5 working days in advance, you should give a reading material to the student for this lecture which you are going to deliver today. And you should make the student to read that by means of making that reading material more attractive, at the same time answerable. Student should be answerable. How? So reading material, if you send it to the student by some learning management software, or by your ERP, or by your email, or whatever may be your platform which you are using, but still if you provide it to the student, there is no guarantee that 60 students in a class, all 60 will read that material and come to the class. So how to ascertain that? For that, you should incorporate certain amount of in-class and outside class assessments and give due weightage to the in-semester evaluation component which you are going to take for your course. So reading materials should be provided to the student, substantiated with that reading material to ensure that student learns and reads that material perfectly and understands that, and then comes to your lecture session with full preparedness. You should have some weightage of evaluation component of in-semester evaluation marks given to that. Then still that will be only making the student to attain 10 to 15% of the required learning level attainment. But the next thing which you have to do is to substantiate more learning. Along with the reading material, you should also supply them some amount of audio-visual aids. Audio-visual aids are some YouTube downloaded videos relevant to your lecture topic of today's session. Similarly, some animations or some mobile pictures which the students feel very easy to understand the concept. Those things will enable enable the student to understand to an extent of 30% with 5% of your lecture. So around 35% of the learning will be attained. But again, I tell you, for this also there should be some assignment or some evaluation or some weightage given in the in-semester evaluation component. Otherwise, students and ultimately their parents will not take it seriously. That is the trend, that is the psychology of Indian students. So everything which is either linked to the attendance or linked to the evaluation or linked to both, then only the students will take it seriously. So that is what we tried to experiment here. Then along with this, for example, being an electronics engineer or being a mechanical engineer, if I am teaching in the class the sensors or actuators, or I am teaching something related to the Reynolds experiment or laminar flow or turbulent flow, then what you have to do is, along with the reading material and audio visual aid, you should get some video recorded in your laboratory in your laboratory where the experimental setup is available, on which you can easily perform the real-time experiment of the concept which you are going to deliver the lecture after 5 days. So that you have to demonstrate properly, record it properly, and then supplement it along with the reading and audio-visual material which you are going to provide to the student at least 5 days in advance to the class. Then, when the student comes prepared with the reading material provided by you, having seen the audio-visual material sent by you, having seen the demonstration video sent by you, and listening to your lecture in the class, then your lecture should be not more than 15 to 20 minutes in the class out of 60 minutes duration or 50 minutes duration of your class. After your lecture or in between your lecture, take intermittent breaks and make the students to form as groups. And in each group, just like how you divide the students into project groups in your final year, in the same, how do you divide your project groups in your final year? You take one student from the topmost category, and second level category, you take the bottommost student. Third level category, you take the topmost student. That is the sinusoidal curve you follow, and accordingly you frame the project batch. In the same manner, frame the discussion forums or discussion groups of students in your class. And these discussion groups should discuss about the material which was provided to them, about the audio-visual aids which were provided to them, about the demonstration video which was provided to them, about the lecture which was delivered to them in the class. And they should come out with 1 or 2 problems, 1 or 2 doubts, or they should come out with 1 or 2 solutions. That is what, that also should be given due weightage for in-class evaluation, and that is in-semester evaluation. And if required at relevant levels, at least after completion of each course outcome or after completion of each half of the semester, that is around 20-25 lectures, make them do one small mini project or term paper as part of your course. That is practice by doing. And once they develop that project, then they will get around 75% of knowledge of that topics which have been delivered to them. And then ask them to present it to the other students of the class. These 5 students, discussion forum group students who are there, let them present it to other 55 or 60 students in the class. That is, teach others. This makes them attain something around 90% of the learning which is required from the course. So these all things are complementing each other. People think if they don't understand this learning pyramid properly, I have seen in various institutions where I have delivered this lecture, everyone says to me that we have seen this learning pyramid and we are very much familiar. In fact, we implement that. But everyone only thinks that each one is a fragmented step here. No, each step is complementing each other. Lecture should be having a blend with reading, audiovisual, demonstration, discussion, practice doing, and teaching others. Then only 100% attainment of learning will be obtained in every course, in every class of every course, in every semester, in every academic year, and all through the 4 years of duration of the student study. This makes the student a lifelong learner also. If the student is made to practice this type of learning, the required program outcome or graduate attribute of NBA, one of them, that is lifelong learner, that cannot be attained by any of the courses or any of the projects, except if you make the students to implement all these things in maximum possible number of courses. And I suggest this type of teaching pedagogy should generally be implemented in all the core engineering courses of each department, and all the elective courses of each department, professional core and professional electives. If you have open electives, or if you have basic sciences, engineering sciences courses, there you may or may not have this, all these things. But especially in engineering courses, for core engineering courses, there you have to definitely try out this type of techniques. Any doubts so far? Any doubts from any of the participants so far?
Participants, you can interact with sir. Anybody?
Okay, then we will go ahead.
Okay, sir.
Coming to the next one, that is in higher education. In higher education, there was a recent study carried out across the world, not only in India, but across the world. And that study was carried out by the world's best universities like Stanford, MIT, NTU, and all these things. So these universities, they formed as a cluster, and they have undertaken a survey on higher education. And the findings which have come out from that survey have proven that students' engagement is most effective means of learning. Students' engagement into learning is the most effective means of learning, and this type of learning, that is student engaged into learning, outperforms the lectures, outperforms the lectures delivered by the faculty members. That means the faculty members delivering the lectures are no longer the preferred mode of learning by the students, but is still the least employed teaching strategy across the world. That means though the students community feels across the world, the student community feels that active engagement of students in the learning will make them effectively learn, but still it is the least applied teaching strategy because teachers, administrators, and everyone wants to have command only to the lecturer or the faculty member delivering that course or delivering that class. But I feel, having implemented this type of students' active engagement in the class since past 7 years, I feel that I personally feel, and the feedback of my colleagues, my peers, is that the students are still going to listen most effectively to the faculty member who engages the student actively in the class. And they are doing so in my classes, in my department, in my university as well. And the student over 2,000 universities across various classes related to science, technology, engineering, and maths, where nearly 550 faculty have been observed while teaching over 700 courses at 25 institutions across the world's best countries, so-called the developed countries in education sector like America and Canada. They have found that 55% were still using conventional lecture techniques to teach, a style that is proven to be the least effective at teaching and engaging the students. And meager 18% displayed a student-centered style of teaching with a focus on group work and discussions, which I already told to you in the initial slides. And this research has also showed that students' engagement strategies improve the students' learning and attitude towards learning. How many of you agree with me that in a class of 60 in which you are teaching, 25% or 30% are the students who really listen to you in the class? Remaining 65 students, 65% of the students who are there in your class come to your class just for the sake of attendance. How many of you agree? Being teachers, I think almost all of you will be agreeing to this. 65 to 70% of the students come to the class to attend the class for the sake of attendance, but not to learn something from that class. The reason is the students, that type of 65% of the students who are there, those type of students are the one who are not ready and who are not liking the mode of learning being imparted to them. If you slightly change your attitude and the orientation of making the students learn, then such type of students will learn most effectively than this 25% of the students who actively attend your class, take your notes, take down your notes, submit all your assignments on time, and all these things. This type of students, this 20-25% of the students are the ones who are tuned to mugging up style of learning. That mugging up style of learning, is it essential? Has it provided any worthwhile attainment of learning to the student after the students enter into the job market, after the student enter into the real world and face the industry? No, because mugging up never helps the student. Mugging up provides only the opportunity to gain good grades, good marks, good percentage, good CGPA, but very less amount of the knowledge and skills which are required by the industries from each of the courses which we teach to be applied in the class. So what you have to do? That is what is the survey which is conducted, and it is telling student engagement has long been recognized as a key element in student learning and achievement, and was identified long back in 2003 itself as critical goal for national school improvement efforts by USA, the so-called world's developed country, most developed country. But still, the survey which was conducted in 2019 yielded such type of results. So this is a shocking situation for everyone. What does the student engagement mean? Again, the national study of student engagement, which was conducted in 2000, in between 2017 to 2019, gave an annual analysis of student engagement in universities, especially across US, that the measures and defines it as the student engagement can be represented into two critical features of higher education or collegiate learning or collegiate quality. The first category of student engagement is how much time and how much effort the student needs to put into their studies and other educationally motivated activities. And the second one, the most important one, is how the educational institutions deploy its resources and organize the curriculum and other learning opportunities so that the students will be able to effectively participate in the activities that are linked to the student learning. How the educational institutions deploy the resources which are available with it and organize them in an effective manner, shape the curriculum in the best possible manner such that the learning opportunities are provided to the students, and these learning opportunities enable the students to make them participate in activities that are linked to the student learning. Rather than being a passive listener in the class, the student should become a active learner in the class. Student should not be a passive listener in the class. Student should be a active learner in the class. That is what is the ultimate meaning of student engagement in the class. And student engagement also refers to the degree of attention the student must pay to the topic, to the concept, to the experiment which the student is supposed to learn in that particular class. Students' curiosity, students' involvement, students' optimistic approach, and the passion that the students display while that particular concept, while that particular topic, while that particular experiment is being taught in the class, thus improving how much the student learns and retains whatever the student has learned in his or her mind throughout, so that he or she can use it, apply it at his real life whenever the situation demands so, as well as their persistence and enjoyment in completing that work. This is very, very important. As well as their persistence and enjoyment in completing that work is ascertained. What is the meaning of persistence? Persistence means their presence. The student has to feel that he is a very, very important part of this learning. He should not feel that he is not directly linked to this learning at all. If he feels that, then again it is a passive learning. So his involvement should be there and it should be persistent. Every student out of 65 in your class should feel their presence in the class by means of their active involvement. Similarly, every one out of the 65 should enjoy in completing that learning task. When will they be enjoying? When will they enjoy? Every student, every class will have some X number of students who are above average learners, some Y number of students who are average learners, and some Z number of students who are slow learners. So when, Mr. Naveen Kumar and Mr. Nagavenkat, you have raised your hand. Please unmute yourself and pose your queries.
Sir, it is pressed by mistakenly, sir. Sorry, sir. I have no doubt, sir. Okay.
Okay. So if you understand this, if you have this blend of these three categories of students in your class, above average, average, and slow learners, X, Y, and Z category of students in your class, then how to ensure that this Y and Z, that is average and below average students, enjoy the learning in your class? That is very, very important, because these categories of students do not generally like your lecture, do not generally come to your class to listen to your lecture, do not generally take down any notes, do not generally read any material, do not generally read anything after they go home from your class. These are the ones who have to be tackled upon by the faculty members by making them actively get engaged in your class. You should make them get actively engaged by means of some innovative assignments, innovative type of projects, which the above average student it may or may not do, but this slow learners and this average learners should definitely be coming forward to do it in a very, very innovative manner. That type of zeal should be created into them, and that is positive to them, which directly impinges upon this category of students in your class, that is average and below average learners. And generally, if you see the trend, the mindset of the students, writing something, doing something in the form of a graph or writing a program or all these things, this type of average and below average students do not like at all. They only want to dirty their hands. They only want to do something physically, develop something physically, feel something physically. Means they are more inclined towards experimentation, prototyping, project. So that is where you have to provide the opportunities by your course, through your course for such category of students. I will tell you one example which we have seen in 2018-19 academic year in engineering mechanics course, which is considered the most difficult course in the first year for mechanical engineering students. Earlier it was common for everyone, now it is limited to a few branches, but still engineering mechanics is very difficult. Same is the case with C programming language at first year level. So in engineering mechanics, so far till 2018, what we used to do is we used to make the students solve various problems related to statics, related to dynamics, related to free body diagrams, something around 600, 700 problems. The student used to solve with the guided support from the faculty member. And out of that only they will be coming in the exam generally. The active students who are above average students, they used to take down the notes, follow the lecture sessions, actively participate in the class in problems which are given to them, textbook based problems to solve that and all these things. But the average and below average students, they fared miserably in the tests and exams. So what we did is to, let us say, a principle of three forces or principle of equilibrium or like that. So many principles are there in statics and dynamics in engineering mechanics. Instead of making the student to solve a mathematical problem in the class or in the exam, if you make the student to ask the student to come out with an innovative idea of a working prototype or a working model to show how the principle of three forces works, how the free body diagram is evolved, how support reactions are to be designed, how the support reactions have to be framed. The students took it in a very challenging manner, and you cannot imagine that they have come out with so innovative experiments that the entire physics out of engineering mechanics was completely changed, which means the below average and slow average learners who are there, they don't want traditional paper and pen based examinations and in-class activities. They want real world prototyping activities for majority of the courses. That is what engagement of students means in the context of engineering courses especially. So this is where you should think on, where you should act upon. There are various innovative teaching strategies that improve the students' engagement inside the class. I have categorized them into two categories. The first one is inquiry-based learning, where you give some learning material to the student prior to your class, ask the student to read that material, come to your lecture session with some 4 or 5 questions which the student has evolved from that reading material supplied to them. Then let them pose it in the class. You don't answer that in the class. Another student or another group of students should answer that in the class. You will be only a moderator. You will be only a facilitator in the class, which means I will come out with 5 doubts. Another group also will come out with another 5 doubts. Both of us will exchange our doubts and provide solutions to our doubts on our own. Me as a teacher, that is facilitator, will be always there to guide them towards the right direction. That is the inquiry-based learning inside the class. Then the next one is flipped mode of learning. These are all the active activities which I am telling you. Flipped mode of learning in the class, flipping the classroom, is nothing but change your what we say teacher student roles. Student becomes a teacher, teacher becomes a student. Means let a category of students, a group of students, provide some lecture in the class on a predefined topic, give them well in advance, let us say 15 days in advance, for a topic which the student group has to deliver in your course. Give it 15 days in advance to that group. Let them prepare for this 15 days. You support them all through these 15 days while they are preparing for that lecture. Then when that 15th day, where the student group has to deliver that lecture in the class, you will be only a mock spectator, only for one or two doubts which you pose, for the sake of other students to understand that. You will not play any role in the class. The students will explain, the students will demonstrate, the lecturer or a teacher is supposed to do in the class. That is what the flipped classroom approach means. That is, teacher becomes a student, student becomes the teacher. And here you can also add some small flavors into this flipped approach. Here you can make this flipped classroom much more effective by implementing this with student groups, and each group having a peer student mentor. Let us say you have 5 students as a group. In that, you identify, based upon the performance, based upon the active engagement in the previous semesters or previous sessions in your class, that some X student will become the student peer mentor for that group. That peer mentor will do all the things which are needed from the faculty end for making that group to learn. So peer mentor is one thing. Peer learning, we call it as peer learning. Then you can also provide some QR codes and make the students provided with some materials through that QR codes, and those materials can be some innovative projects, they can be some innovative ideas which the students can explore. Then you can make the students undertake personalized learning. Like if you have a student a strength of 60 or 65 in your section in which you are handling the course, have 65 different sets of examinations and evaluation tools. Each evaluation tool for each student, A, B, C, D, like that, up to any number of students who are there in the class, that should be specific to that student. That is personalized learning. So these are all the ways of imparting ascertained learning in the class. Next comes outside the class. How can you make the student get engaged in learning? So I already told you, if you supplement your class or if you supplement your course with a project, then the learning will become very effective for average and below average learners. And that project should not be a cut and paste from the internet type of thing. It should be a real-time technology-driven project. That project-based learning should have the latest technologies which are all involved in your course to be practiced and developed by the students in real world, in the laboratories. And then it should also be having some jigsaws, some crosswords, some puzzles, so that the student can get his mind ignited, and the student ultimately focuses on going in depth into that concept. So conceptual study can be undertaken by the student when you make based learning. So these are the innovative teaching strategies that improve the students' engagement in the class. And these are the slides which explain whatever I have explained to you just now by sentences. So I would like to conclude with saying that this type of innovative teaching methods and all these things, I would like to conclude stating that each teaching strategy which we have explained, which we have seen, these type of teaching strategies enable the students to learn by solving the problems on their own, by discovering the solutions on their own. How many of you agree with me that the problem solving skills which we all talk about in NBA graduate attributes or program statements, critical thinking, complex problem solving, and all these things which are there as the phrases in graduate attributes or program outcomes of NBA or ABET, how many of you really feel that they really attained by means of the problems which the students are solving in our classes and in our examinations? Are they real problems? Are they real-time problems? The problem from we have taken or derived from behind this textbook, some unsolved problem which you take, is it a real-time problem? Will it be a real-time problem?
No, sir, obviously.
For example, being a mechanical engineer, I will tell you one example of a mechanical course. I teach machine design. In machine design, we all know we make the students learn how to design various machine components like gears, shafts, cams, and all these power transmission elements and various such mechanical components. Let us take a simple gear. A problem which is taken from a textbook asks the student to design a gear wheel for so and so power, to transmit so and so power between two shafts which are at so and so distance, and all these things are given to it. How do you think the innovative quotient of the student will get ignited? And if the student is now engaged, is provided a job by, let us say, a company like Hyundai Motors, or a company like Tata Motors, or a company like Bench, where the student has to now design a gear, should be the power for which we have to design that gear. He himself has to fix for which distance the power needs to be transmitted. The problem is open-ended, whereas the same gear design problem which you posed in the class or in the examination was a closed-ended problem. So closed-ended problems are not going to serve any purpose because there are no possible assumptions to make. There are no technological requirements which the student needs to understand. He needs to just remember essential step-by-step procedure of applying the formula which is already provided to them and then coming out with a typical numerical value. Unfortunately, we call that typical numerical value as a solution for that problem which we are giving in the exam. Is it nothing more than typical numerical value or not? It is, because it does not have any real world application. You take any problem from any of the textbooks, because realistic problems are totally different. This is what is the major gap between everyone talks about. There is a huge gap. There is a ocean's gap between industry and academia. There is no gap if you really implement these things. There is no gap at all. In industry, they practice real world solutions. Whereas in academia, we unfortunately, because of the British education system, which we got tuned to since our independence, we make the students follow textbook based problems. That's all. And in India, main project oriented, it is target oriented. That project orientation should be brought through project based learning. And when every project has a target, has a deadline, has a outcome, has an incentive to the student, they will also work like a project team in the class. And when every student in your class out of 65 starts working as a team member and a team leader in the real, as though they are working in a real industry, don't you think the real learning will get achieved from the student? Certainly it will get achieved. The faculty's mindset to get changed. And being an autonomous institution like SRK or Bhimvaram or like KL deemed to be university, we should always come out with this shell of traditional examinations. Pen and paper based examinations only are killing the innovative and thought quotient of the students. Whereas project based examinations, real world project based examinations, simulations, solving problems of real world, if that itself is the exam, the students will learn in a much more effective manner, and India will be somewhere else. Where our great Prime Minister is talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat and all these things, that Atmanirbhar Bharat will be materialized percent of innovators and 10% of job seekers. Innovators should be more in number than job seekers. Then everyone will become Atmanirbhar Bharat. Every country will become Atmanirbhar. So innovation is the only solution for the entire problem being faced by the teaching fraternity as on date. And when innovation has to be brought out from the students, traditional examinations should not be there. The examination reforms have to be incorporated, and examination reforms have to be complemented with perfect way of learning, and that is active engagement of the students inside the class, and bringing real industry culture right from the first year, first semester onwards to their third year, second semester, and leaving the entire final year for making the students go to the industry and see the real physical situations in the industry. Then everything will get changed. So this is what I wanted to convey to all of you. Now the session is open for discussion. I want to use at least 30-35 minutes to actively make you all pose your doubts so that I can clarify.
Thank you, sir. So I request the participants to ask the queries. Or else if you raise your hand, we will call your name. So participants are requested to interact with our resource person, Srinath sir. Venkatesh sir.
Hello.
Sir, please continue, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
Sir, more effective today. Online classes important or offline class important, sir? Which is the most effective? Online class or offline classes?
You tell me your opinion first.
Offline, sir.
You are from which department?
I am library department, sir.
Okay. Why do you think offline is more effective?
Because it's a more taken a more time interactive section with the students and show the practically.
In your offline class,
Yes, sir.
you are actually supposed to handle around 60-65 students.
Yes.
But if you use this online platform in an effective manner and ensure that not more than 20-25 students, not more than 20-25 or maximum 30 students are there in a class delivered by a single faculty, and they are actively engaged in the class by means of pop-up assignments, pop-up quiz, by means of some real-time simulation models developed by the students while the class is going on, then the class of online mode is much more effective than offline mode.
Okay, sir. Okay,
And
sir.
this is possible, in almost all the engineering, science, mathematics,
Yes.
even biology and
Yes.
medical related courses.
Yes,
I
yes.
don't think these are possible in case of arts, humanities, social sciences, law, and pharmacy related courses. But in all the other higher educational courses, this is possible.
In the village, students are not getting a network problem, sir. All the villages students
That is the
holding.
only problem. That is the only problem
Yeah.
of internet, lack of proper internet facilities at the end of student as well as at the end of faculty in certain cases. But if that is tackled and that is really worked upon, then blended and online mode of learning is the best one.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for guidance.
This is Dr. K.V. Subaraju,
Sir,
Srinath Garu. Very,
yes,
very interesting lecture.
thank you.
I noted the very important point that optimism and passion and then mindset are very important.
Yes, sir.
Yes, if we can elevate the mindset of the students that they can learn new things and they can grow, and the environment of the student side enhances in the same way. If the teacher's mindset also enhances, I can grow, I can learn new skills, I can learn from the successful people, and I can work in teams. If that kind of mindset develops in the students and the teachers, a lot of elevation of the giver and the taker, the person who is sending information and the person who is taking information, the lot of learning happens. And I really appreciate the multimodal type of learning you discussed. You give an excellent examples. Excellent examples. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
I happen to do a course from Harvard University that how to teach so that every student understands. And your lecture is like that. You lecture in such a way that there is you are given a way for every student to learn. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And how do you think about the role of optimism and growth mindset? Can you elaborate?
Yeah, I'll tell you. I'll tell you just now. What we have to do now in the present scenario, or even after this COVID situation, or before that also, is if you all agree with my statement that teacher is the first lifelong learner.
Yes. Wonderful.
Yes or no?
Yes, yes, wonderful, wonderful.
Why is teacher called as lifelong learner?
Yes, yes, yes.
I have seen so many teachers in person,
Yes, yes.
especially in my institution as well as outside also, who have been teaching the same course for their 25 years of service, for their 30, 35 years of service. There is nothing wrong in that.
Yes, yes, yes.
But each year, what innovation they have brought out in that course.
I see some teachers using the same notes on the last 25 years.
Yeah, that is true, sir. Not some teachers. In fact, it is many teachers.
Yes,
Most of the teachers who have been working in an institution since past 15, 20, 25 years,
okay,
they
okay.
all carry the same notes
Uh,
even till date.
oh,
They get it laminated and they use it. No, my astonishment is,
yes, yes, yes.
doesn't the technology change?
Yes, yes, yes. Lot of change.
Because this electronics department is hosting this, I would like to ask some, because most of you are from electronics background.
Yes, yes.
Is this iPhone the same since past 10 years? Is it the same at least next 6 months?
Yes, yes.
Isn't it communication technology which has changed?
A lot of change, yes, yes.
And you still teach the same transistors, diodes, and all these things.
Yes, 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 yes.
So that is what we have to do. What change? The teacher should first under how he will get to know what is the changing technology.
Oh, yes, 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 yes.
He can get the idea of changing in technology only and only if every institution takes a pledge, takes an initiative, promises that every teacher goes to the industry during minimum 15 days in every summer break.
Okay.
And works in the industry for that 15 days. And then understands the real world problems from the course which he or she is going to teach in the next semester.
Yes.
Immediately after summer break, when the students come back, if that faculty member is allotted to teach the communication course, or if the faculty is allotted to teach sensors related course, then he should be sent to that type of industry.
Yes.
During summer.
Yes.
And then bring the problems from that industry to the class.
Yes.
To the institute. Make the students solve those problems in the class. That is what we call it as capstone projects. Industry derived projects by the faculty who has visited that industry.
Okay.
There is a win-win situation. When your student combinedly explores that problem through the capstone project in your class, in your course, you also do consultancy to that industry, freelance.
Yes.
It is freelance also, but it is a consultancy.
Yes.
Your solution may be or may not be accepted by that industry, but you are working towards the industry problem.
Yes.
That means you are abreast with your technology.
Yes.
That is what is the optimism required for the faculty members right now. They should be ready to go to the industry. At the same time, the institution should be having optimism to send them, and the student should be having the optimism to learn that type of technology through capstone projects.
Yes. I want to share 2 points. One point is the Microsoft. They taught all the employees the growth mindset, and in the next 5 years, the company enhanced the value by 5 times. The greatest contribution of Nadella Sachem is he introduced the concept of growth mindset and got every employee trained in that. They were mentored, they were coached so that they implement that.
Correct.
And by that process, they enhanced the value of the company by 5 times. It was never before like that. And the second comment I want to say is by enhancing the growth mindset of oneself and the department and the college, and even the country, if you can enhance the mindset of the country to the growth mindset, not from the fixer mindset, 25-year notes, not from the old 25-year notes, lots of great things will happen.
Yes.
And the second thing I want to tell is that the online can do wonders in teaching.
Yes.
If it is used properly, it can do many things. You can, for the kinesthetic students, for what you're telling about average and below average students, they like physical type of things. They want to see things. They want demonstration, or they want to demonstrate. For such kind of students, we can give a lot of inputs through technology. And that flipped learning also, we can produce videos and send them. You have given do the experiment in the classroom and videograph it and show it in the classroom. That is a wonderful example, and every one of us have to follow that.
Yes.
There's wonderful inputs you have given. Thank you so much, Dr. Srinath. Thank you so much. This is Dr. K. Subarasu. This is Dr.
Yeah,
K.
any other doubts? Any other clarifications required?
So I request Sunanda Kumari ma'am to please carry on. Okay. So any other participant? So any queries?
So if there are no more queries, then I think we can conclude. But we should all take a pledge here. By attending this type of programs, we should not end our program with just a certification achieved from this program and submitting it to our department, and then the department claiming it for NBA and NAC, and you individually claiming it for your annual appraisal and then increment. But whatever you are learning from this type of activities and this type of programs and FDPs, try to at least implement 1% which you have learned from each of such programs into your day-to-day courses, into your day-to-day real lectures which you are going to deliver. Then it will really be a win-win situation for you, the department, the institution, and everyone, including your students. So thank you to the entire SRKR Bhimavaram fraternity, right from the management, principal, head of the department of ECE, the faculty members, the participants, everyone for providing me this opportunity, and AICT, which has come forward to fund this program, and everyone. But I only wish to conclude with finally again reiterating the same thing, that once we attend a session and get a certificate from that, the outcomes of that session and the learning should be carried forward into our, or transformed into our day-to-day teaching and learning practices in our courses. It should not end with the certification. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So we sincerely thank Dr. A. Srinath sir for kindly accepting our invitation, and we are really enlightened with your knowledge and presence, sir. Thanks for sharing your knowledge, and you have guided us in right direction, and it was a most fruitful session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
And
everyone.
we look forward to a successful training program.
My
for the next 3
presentation
days.
is available with Mr. Nagaraju. So I think he will be sharing it with all of you so that you can use it for your further reference.
Thank you.
Definitely, sir. Definitely. I will share with the participants.
So we look forward to a successful training program over the next 3 days, and we strongly encourage you all to become actively engaged in all sessions and discussions on innovative teaching and learning methods. And thank you all, and I wish you a very successful training sessions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, we shall leave.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, participants. All please go through the chat box. We have given feedback link there. And I also will keep this feedback link in WhatsApp groups also. Please submit on or before.
So we request the participant to submit the feedback links using the Zoom registered mail IDs. Okay. So with the Zoom register mail IDs only, you please submit the feedback forms.
Submit on or before 6 p.m. Thank you. Thank you all. Sir Ramaraj sir, shall we close?
Hello, Nagaraju.
Sir.
Okay, you shall close this one and try to get the feedback because we have some time. Question time is there.
Definitely, sir. I'll send the feedback links to WhatsApp group, sir.
During this time, you try to collect all the feedbacks from all the participants. I hope the 3 feedbacks are there waiting for submission.
Yes, sir. Already ready, sir. All the feedbacks forms are ready.
Okay.
So for 2 days, we collected the feedback forms, sir. Now I gone to the day 3 feedback, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Right, sir. Thank you all.